But yes, here we go. Dylan Costa. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, and thank you, Ellen, for your talk before that. I think our talks are dovetailing very nicely. So I'm focusing specifically on the social and the content marketing side, and what I like to call getting your customers to fall in love with you. So let's get going. Don't worry, it is working. Okay, so thank you, Sol, for that beautiful introduction of me. I don't think I can add much to it. I was just going to try and give some credibility as to why you should believe me. But about a year ago, I decided to become an influencer. And the reason I decided to do that was because a lot of what we do is we sell influence marketing, we sell collaborations, we work with a lot of influencers. So I wanted to understand the journey of being an influencer and how hard it is to become an influencer. Also, I wanted to understand next level social media. So the social media of influence, the world of influence, because that really is, for me, at the forefront very much of marketing these days. And it's been a really interesting journey. So if you follow me on YouTube, please subscribe. Please, I beg you, subscribe. Subscribe to my YouTube channel. And if you follow me on Instagram, so it took about 6 months to get 10,000 followers on Instagram. So I'm now, I think, starting to become not a micro-influencer anymore. I'm starting to be able to possibly even charge, although nobody's reached out to me. I am available for campaigns. No, I'm just kidding. But so 10,000 followers on Instagram. I've got 6,000 followers on Twitter and 100 followers on YouTube. So please, subscribe. And it's been such an interesting journey. Firstly, understanding how to interact with my audience and my followers and how to build a following and how to increase engagement as the product. And so sitting here, each one of you represents a brand. And this is your challenge. Because as marketers, the minute we put our marketing hat on, we become spastic. We can't write anymore. We can't write in an honest fashion like marketing just comes from our fingertips. I know because I was a marketing manager and I would write the website copy. We are the best and the most excellent provider of this service. It's like completely BS and I just can't stop myself, So that's why you're sitting here, is to understand how to use these tools and how to use these platforms to create a relationship with a customer and not just see them as a number. At least that's why I hope you're here. So very quickly about us, we're based out in Bloberg, or as I like to call it, Boksburg by the sea, and which is very nice for me because I live there. My husband kiteboards and I sometimes manage to surf, but not often. But yeah, we've got around 17 full-time staff members. I lose count. Not sure how many we're sitting at now. We have 3 French interns, which is amazing. And yeah, our speciality is really what we call next level social media, and with a view to building 4 C's: community, content, collaboration, and conversions. So that's really what we're all about. And all of these digital tools at our disposal is what we use to try to build these 4 C's. So it's a whole host of your usual traditional digital marketing skills. But at the end of the day, once you mix it all together in a pot and integrate it, that's what we're looking for. So, okay, let's get into the nitty-gritty. How do you reach a distracted customer? So if we look at the anatomy of a distracted customer, I think the top challenge that we're all facing is how to grab their attention. Because everybody's vying for their attention. And we know what it feels like to be in that space because everyone's vying for your attention, just like you're vying for everyone's attention. And you are responsible for this deluge of information. It's like when I'm stuck in traffic and I'm raging against all the cars stuck in traffic, but I'm part of the problem. So here we are as consumers raging about this deluge of information that's flooding us, but we are also deluging our consumers and our customers and our followers with information and information overload. So here we have this poor, distracted customer. And so the first thing is that they are completely overwhelmed. So part of being overwhelmed is they've got offers and they've got brands coming at them thick and fast. And it's never been this easy to reach people. It's really never been easier to overwhelm people. And so you're looking at people who are you on average being faced with up to 5,000 offers a day, 5,000 offers and brands and messages a day. So it's no wonder that they're completely distracted, because, I mean, if they are invested, and as we heard from Ellen, if they are leaning into your content, you might get them for 30 seconds. But mostly you might get 1.7 seconds on a Facebook video. So never before has it been more important to create content that is useful, that is relevant, that has a message that is necessary. And so for me, very much what Ellen said, the starting point is what are they searching for, what are their needs. There's so much data available to you to address the needs, but we never have time to stop and first do the research because we're so busy churning out all this information. So the next customer I want to focus on is the distrusting customer. So we had our distracted customer, but actually the same customer is also very distrusting. So did you know that there are 615 million devices using ad blockers? And it's up by 30% since last year. So if you look in South Africa alone, we can see the number of people who are online from Ellen's presentation. And if you infer some numbers, if I had to ask you sitting here in this room, would you have ad blockers on if you weren't a marketing manager?
Yes.
And trying to see what everybody else is doing?
I do have ad blocker on.
You have. How many of you have ad blockers on? So what I found, and I recently did a usability testing session with a big investment fund that is an incredible brand. I mean, I personally absolutely adore their ad campaigns. And when we had millennials sitting in the test, you know, the scenario was, okay, you've just come from this banner, and the first thing they said was, no, I don't see banners, I've got ad blockers on. So, okay, well, just pretend you somehow saw this banner, and then you clicked on it because it was so incredible, and you're like, I wouldn't click on it because it's completely corporate and boring. I was like, okay, well, just for the sake of the scenario, you clicked on it, and then you went through to this website, and he's like, boring, I hate it, it's absolutely terrible. I would never trust this website at all. It's corporate, and he went on and on how he wouldn't trust it. So I had a bit of a brainwave, and I was like, okay, imagine, let's change the scenario. Imagine you came from a blog, and it's a trusted blogger, an independent, neutral, third-party blogger, and they wrote about the top, let's say, 10 investment funds in South Africa, and this happened to be in the top 1, 2, or 3, and you clicked on it. And then he said, okay, all right, so since I came from the trusted blog, I said, now how do you feel about the website? Well, he says, well, since I came from the trusted blog, then I feel like, okay, I trust the site because I came from the trusted blogger. And about 5 or 6 times throughout the test, he kept referring back to the trusted blogger. So the process was quite convoluted. And at a number of points when he would have abandoned the process naturally, he kept reminding himself that he came from the trusted blogger. Because he came from the trusted blogger, he trusted the brand. So they are suspicious of you, and naturally they are suspicious of you because you're trying to sell them something. So who do they turn to? They turn to their peers, they turn to friends, they turn to families, they turn to reviews. So you might have someone standing in your shopping aisle on their phone at the checkout queue, and they're looking up reviews from bloggers and from YouTubers, and they're going online. They're skeptical. They don't trust us anymore. And I think that, you know, with due cause, because I think, you know, historically marketers have had a very short-term relationship with their customer. And what I want to leave you with is I want to remove this short-term thinking from your minds. You are here to form a long-term marriage. Now, anyone who's married knows it can be very hard work, very, very hard work. So it's not about the initial wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. Now, the problem with you sitting here is you have to report to bosses, and they are only all about the wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. They don't care about long-term buying power. They don't care about repeat purchases. They just want that person to buy, and they want them to buy now. And so all of the marketing communications channels are glutted up with offers, so that you're sitting here with your nice content and you can't even get some airtime because it's just offers and hard sell and offers and hard sell. So now, where's the relationship in that? Where's the trust building in that? I think your responsibility as a marketer is to stop having a short-term thinking. And this is difficult because it's coming from the top. They're just looking at the numbers. And it's coming from the shareholders and they're just looking at the numbers. But what if I told you that a customer who is a repeat customer is worth 7 times the value of a once-off customer? If you can focus on the customers who love you and your brand ambassadors and the people who are incredibly invested into your brand, you can make so much more money than just having a short-term way of thinking, which is, let me just get the sale. So you do need to be ready, as Ellen said, at the right time when they are ready to buy. You have to be there with the product. You have to be there with the product. But it's not, the product is not the focus. The product is the byproduct of an invested relationship with your brand. So if we look at our entitled customer. So who is our entitled customer? And you who deal with call center issues will know that the customer is becoming much more entitled than ever before. They demand convenience. So your job as a marketer is to, for example, I love the Woolies mailers. When they come to me, they've pre-packaged the entire shopping basket. I can just click buy, and the whole basket has been loaded into that mailer. I can shop that whole recipe list from that recipe. I can just click buy, the whole thing's preloaded, go, check out. Convenience. They've made it easy for me, they've removed barriers. They expect the communications to be personalized. And by personalized, I don't just mean first name. Even though it is true that people do feel warmer towards a brand, 67% of people say that they feel a lot more warmer towards your brand if you do use your first name. But that's like marketing, not even 101. That's like kindergarten stuff. So by personalized, I mean you know what I'm shopping. You know what I'm buying. Don't be sending me something that I'm not interested in already. Because you're sitting on all of these data warehouses full of so much shopper information. You should know that I have bought this, or I didn't buy this, or that I'm due for a renewal, because you've got the systems in place. And you're meeting me at the right time with the right offer. And it can be as simple as this. Hey Dylan, you last had your eyes tested a year ago. Maybe it's time to pop in, and you put the date of my last eye test there. It's that simple. It doesn't have to be rocket science. It's literally just as simple as, I once got a mailer from Clicks with a voucher. And it was for brunette hair dye because I'd bought brunette hair shampoo. It's that simple. Like, it's not rocket science. It's just find the small, easy wins to personalize that information. So if you know someone has clip-on earrings versus somebody who has pierced earrings, you're going to be sending them different content. Don't be wasting their time. And customized. Now, by customized, I mean that you almost have a single view of the customer, that you are taking your data warehouses and you're breaking it down into very small little subgroups of tiny subsections. And you're identifying, okay, this is my busy working mom. This is my health bunny. This is my jogger. This is my, whatever your small sub-demographics are. And then you're creating a unique viewing experience across all your platforms for that person. So because we have so much data on that person, you've got the emails that can be customized to their preferences. You can take that list, you can load it into Facebook, you can load it into Google, and make sure that they get the next journey. So if you know I have long hair and you're mailing me about long hairstyles, and I'm seeing those across all my different touch points. It's a completely customized journey. And yes, creepiness, customization, personalization. There is a borderline creepiness that people are starting to become aware of. I mean, when remarketing came out, people were freaked out by these banners following them around the interwebs, you know, like, how this voodoo, this digital voodoo, what is this? So it's very simple. If you're creating value, it's all about creating value. Make my life easier and help me to trust you. So in no way may you undermine my trust. And experience is such an important part of that. And for those of you with bricks and mortar stores, you'll know if I have the wrong experience at your store, it's going to tarnish everything related to your brand. So I had a very interesting experience with Tsonga boots, which I like to relay every opportunity I get. I bought this very expensive, well for me, pair of Tsonga leather boots, and I expect them to last, well, pretty much a lifetime, right? Because you're forking out, it's an investment, yeah. And one season later, I took them out my cupboard and they'd cracked at the bottom, both of them. At the bottom. Apparently you're supposed to bend your Tsonga boots. You got to take them out for a walk in summer. So who knew? So I start emailing, like, can you just send your delivery people to come collect these boots from me and fix them? And they were like, no, you can drive them to Cavendish. I'm like, I'm in Bloberg. Cavendish is too far. Like, it's like, do you know how far that is? They're like, yo, drive it to that shop. I'm like, no, send someone to me. No, drive it. What about Durban? I can just courier it to Durban. Send your courier. No, you must pay for the courier. I'm like, hold on a minute here. I paid a premium price for these boots, and now you're expecting me to courier it and me to schlep to fix what you broke and didn't make properly in the first place. I was becoming more and more enraged. And this poor girl on the other end of the email was, you know, my letters were getting bigger and bigger and redder and redder. Eventually I was writing in uppercase, like this big, font size 80. And then eventually I was like, fine, I'm going to rank for Tsonga boots. I'm going to go, I've given you a chance. I've kept this closed. I've been polite because of my loyalty to the brand. I've kept this over email, but now I'm going public. I'm going to rank organically. If people type in Tsonga leather boots, they will find my posts. I'm going to take them down. I created Pinterest boards. I created Facebook. I just clicked send on Twitter, and my phone rang, and it was Tsonga. I kid you not. It was like I went, ha, dring, dring, hello. It was Tsonga. I was like, sorry. I felt all a bit like, oh, sorry. Maybe I went a bit overboard there. The girl's like, hey, this is whoever from Tsonga, and like I saw your post, and I'm so sad about that, and we're going to have a courier there. What's your shoe size? They picked up my boots, they fixed them, and they sent me a brand new pair. I'm like, what? Why couldn't that poor email girl have that power? Look, but let's just say at least they have realized the power of social media, because there are so many brands out there who are like, I'm not on Twitter. I'm like, yeah, but your customers are on Twitter. Yeah, but we don't do Twitter. We focus on this channel. Okay, but so is anybody monitoring your Twitter? No. Okay, so when I type your name into Google or I type your name into Twitter, what am I going to find? A whole host of silence. And there's nothing that undermines trust in a brand more than silence. Because then people immediately think, if I have a problem, they will not reply. If I have a problem, no one will call me back. So I don't care which brand you're comfortable with, or that you don't do Facebook because of Mark Zuckerberg's strangeness. That's fine. I completely understand that. But your customers are there, and it means you have to be there, and you have to be monitoring, and you have to be replying. Because their experience is, they expect an amazing integrated experience. They expect amazing service. It is like, it's just a given. So if you're in business these days, these are the things that they have an entitlement complex. And also that it's immediate. So add this to your list of things to worry about. So now let's look at our poor marketing manager. Shame. So firstly, our marketing manager is completely overwhelmed. So just take a deep breath. You're not alone. It's an overwhelming world out there. There's so much data at your disposal that it's actually paralyzing to know that you're sitting on warehouses and warehouses and warehouses of purchasing data. Or potentially, you don't have any data, And so you're paralyzed because you know nothing about who's buying from you, you don't know their preferences, and you don't know anything about their social media habits either. So you're actually sitting there going, I don't even know where to start. You are struggling to stand out because there are 40 million companies doing what you do, and there's some disruptive upstart coming up now who just wants to take your breakfast. So differentiating is one of the hardest things to do now because everybody's doing digital marketing. So even a couple of years ago, digital marketing was still voodoo. It was still, you know, like, what is this magical thing called digital marketing? But even more and more, it's become completely demystified. And now everyone is doing it. Everyone's doing content marketing. Everyone's doing social media marketing. It's like the Maslow's hierarchy. I wrote a blog. Go check it out on my website on Shift One called The 5 Levels of Social Media. Like, there are 5 levels of social media, and you have to move up through those levels. But there are some basic levels, and Me Too marketing is one of the things. Me Too social media is one of the things you have to be doing. It's just you have to be doing it, right? But how are you going to stand out now since everybody's doing it? And your consumers are overwhelmed with blogs and articles and content marketing. Don't worry, I have got some answers for you. It's coming. Thank you. You're also sitting here thinking you have no time, like you have a full-time job. And so some of you sitting in this room are probably the social media marketer and the marketing manager and the sales rep and the customer service person as well, and PR, and you know, PA probably to the MD at some points, and have to fix the printer as well. And so you are completely overwhelmed. There is so much going on, and I completely get that. And you are responsible for this deluge as well. So because we don't have time to think, and we don't have time to create the right work, we're just busy creating work. We're just busy doing mailers. I was at a very large retailer about 3 weeks ago, and I found that a lot of the content was going out, and nobody had time to even look at the reports. There was no time to stop and look at the reports. And I actually suggested that they print out a piece of paper, like, let's go old school, print out a piece of paper with the mailer and the stats at the back, and maybe the brief, you know, the original brief, and just let that circulate around the office, this piece of paper. Because A, people aren't going to read it if it's in an email in their inbox, but B, nobody's stopping to learn about which mailers are doing well. We're just so busy churning them out. And you're setting up campaigns, and you don't even read the reports that come to you at the end of the month with all these numbers from your digital agency, and you're like, it's just too much going on. But at least you're busy doing it, right? You're spending the money, you're ticking the box. And the other thing that I find as a marketer is that we are sales oriented. Sales is in our blood. And it's, I think it's also a South African thing. It's an economy thing. Everybody needs to be making more money. Everybody needs to make sure their jobs are secure. Everybody wants to sell. And so now you go back to your customer, and they are completely being overwhelmed with messaging and hard sell. And they've stopped believing anything you say. So basically, marketing, there is a problem with marketing. And as you know, for those of you who've done customer journey mapping, and you've worked out, okay, how are we going to get awareness? Which are our channels that we need to drive awareness? Which are the blogs and the articles and the mailers and the videos that we're going to create to get awareness going? Who are the people that we're targeting for awareness? And once they've expressed interest and they start investigating, what are the blogs and the articles that they find then? And then maybe they purchase the first time. What are the blogs and the articles and the videos and the reviews that they see then? And how do we get them to repurchase, or how do we keep them loyal? So those customer journey mapping, which is a big part of what we do, is now becoming more and more a muddled and meandering maze. And we're finding that people will start their journey on a mobile device. They'll start doing their research by a house. They'll start looking around on their phones. At some point, they migrate to their desktops, and that's where they do the hard part, the stuff, the filling out of complicated forms or all the complicated stuff. But they'll finish again on their mobile phones or maybe on a tablet. So you've got people migrating across all the channels as if they were one great expanse. So there is nothing to be done. Everything has to be completely integrated. You know, you cannot see channels as different silos. And no, the mailing team does the mailers. And I do the social media over here, and the call center sitting over there. And unfortunately, most companies are structured like that. You just don't have control over the full journey of the customer. And that's your challenge, is how do you create a value-filled experience when you literally just have that little sliver? And in order to get somebody else, you have to get 4 departments together. There's the person who wrote the brief, there's the copywriter, there's the designer, there's the emailer, and then there's the person who pulled the data. And they all sit in completely different departments. So it's like, how on earth? And that's just on emails. But if you want to reach your customer, you have to change some things. So some things really have to change. And originally when I put this slide here, it was because I was thinking of, as marketers, we're fighting our competition. But then I realized, no, we're fighting our customers. That's you, and that's the customer. At the moment, what we have is a completely lose-lose situation. It's a lose-lose situation. Nobody's winning. You're absolutely deluging them. I hire writers, but I can't write. Deluding them. We are inundating them. We are bombarding them. We are overwhelming them. We are flooding them with information and offers and smashing them in the jaw. And they're smashing right back with ad blockers, not going to our websites, clicking on the ad, but not buying from you. So there is no loyalty. There's no sense of loyalty. So how do we turn this into a win-win situation? I think the very, very first thing we need to acknowledge is that traditional marketing is stone cold dead. I want you to all leave this room and change your titles. How about that? There is no more marketing manager job because marketing is dead. What can we call ourselves?
Brand warriors.
Yes. Yes. I think we need to workshop this.
Magicians.
Magicians, yes.
Innovation.
Yes. Customer advocates. What about customer advocates? Or who is somebody that would stand and protect that guy? Customer custodian.
Brand love.
Brand lovers. Yes. Brand love creators. To turn this from a war into love. Let's not make love. Let's make, I mean.
He's your copywriter.
That's what I said last night. Okay, so traditional marketing is completely dead, and we have to move away from the economy of selling. The economy of the hard sell is over. So I thought that this was really apt. Hacking the tree to death, to bleed it dry, every drop that it has inside of it, to watering the tree and creating this beautiful environment for people to play under and making a park. So how are you going to leave this room and go from here to there? Because you're going to have conflict, and it may not work in this job of yours, but I want to plant the seed in your hearts now that this is next level marketing, is to turn your customers into absolute raving fans. Because if your customers are raving fans, they're going to sell for you. They're going to create the content for you. So I want to go through a case study of Nike. And yes, I Googled it. It's Nike. I was like, I don't want to be dorky and be saying Nike and then it's Nike. But actually it is Nike, apparently. So I want to take you through just a few things that Nike South Africa are doing. So firstly, they were ranked globally last year as the second best social media brand out there, second to Coca-Cola. So they were ranked number 2 globally from a social media point of view. But then locally, they were ranked the number 1 coolest brand in South Africa. And that was, I think, 2 years ago. So how does a brand become ranked as the coolest brand in South Africa? Nike. Did you know that? Did you know that?
You've got all these athletes wearing them.
So if you don't know that Nike is the coolest brand in Africa, you are not the demographic. The reason you never hear, you see, I knew you were cool. The reason you've never heard of, well, you don't think about Nike in that context is because you're not the demographic at all, in any shape or form. And they're not wasting any money on you. In fact, they're not wasting any money at all. Do you know that they do not do mass advertising? They don't have billboards on the M1 and the N2. They don't do paid advertising. But they used to. They used to have huge billboards up. So what is it that they've done? This is where they've spent their money. They've taken their money and they've given it to their customer. So number one, they went to Algiers and they said to the mayor of Algiers, we want to do a race. And we want men and women to be able to race. And the feedback was, no, you can't, because women can't run in Algiers. It's not in the rule book. No running. And so they said, okay, well, will you let 15 women run? And they said, okay, fine, 15 women can run. 2,000 women turned up. And ran. And you're like, okay, so what's the big deal? You're doing anything what the big deal is. Well, here's the big deal. Running is now legal for women in Algiers. Like, imagine your brand tore down that barrier. They hosted that race for free. They paid for everything. They just went to a town, a city, and they created an event. And they did a mega life-changing, life-altering, culture-shifting. That was the outcome. Okay, so what else are they doing? They've started a running club. You can join their running club anywhere in the world. They now have premium tents. If you're part of their running club and you run the Boston Marathon, you can go to their VIP tent. And there's masseuse there, and there's everything that you need there, coffee, tea, soft drinks. They've created this incredible experience for you as a runner because you're part of the club. Kind of like an airport lounge for runners. Cool, hey? Free. They reach out to the cool trendsetters. Now, here's the other thing that's interesting. There isn't one white person on their marketing team. I think it makes so much sense. They've hired the people who are connected to the target market, who know who's in, and they've got young, but there's not old people on their marketing team either. They know who's in, they know who's trending, and they know who's out. The marketing team are plugged into the communities that they're trying to reach. Now here we are sitting trying to understand a community and trying to write content that is so far removed because we think it's what's right, but it's not right. And each one of us sitting here is probably not the demographic of our customer. Or maybe a small segment, but definitely not all the segments. So what they did here was they partnered with Casper, and they paid for him to do running lessons. He'd never run a day in his life. This is a top rapper, by the way, for those of you who don't know. One of the top YouTubers in South Africa. And they didn't tell him which marathon he was going to run. And then what they did was they surprised him, and they just flew him there, and it was the Berlin Marathon. And they didn't pay for his time while he was there. They didn't hire a camera crew while he was there. He did all his own photography. And he just blogged and vlogged and Instagrammed that whole journey. And all his followers went along for the ride. And they created this space for him to be cool. The other thing that they do is they create these epic events, but they are really small, targeted custom events for their small communities. So they've identified their small sub-communities. And that's your homework. Who are your small sub-communities that you can target? The beauty of having small events is that they can get the right influencers to come to those events. Now they make these events super sexy. Super, super, super sexy. All the influencers have to be there. They're getting their free wardrobe and outfits right there as they come in. It's VIP. Everybody, it's champagne is flowing. There's no MCC. It's proper champagne brands that I don't even know how to pronounce properly. And they've got nail artists there, and they've got hair artists, they've got tattoo artists. It's like literally a super epic event. And here's where it's clever. They associate some shoes to that event. Those shoes sell out within 1 week. What have they done? They've created an amazing event. So Cassandra Twala, she's got about 27,000 Instagram followers. Her Instagram account is beautiful. I was looking at all the people wearing houndstooth. I was like, we could be on Cassandra's, on her feed, because it's all black and white. It's absolutely gorgeous. And so they invited all of these different influencers, runners, joggers, and Cassandra, who is more a lifestyle blogger, create this beautiful space for them to showcase themselves in. Now, as an influencer, you have to be living the high life, right? You have to be seen to be living the high life. So they create these events where influencers get to show how they're living the high life. So tick for the influencer. B, it's a tick for the man in the street who gets to come to the event, because you're hanging out with the influencers. And you know these influencers because they are the people who are influencing you. And C, they win because their brand just goes along for the ride. Their brand absolutely just goes along for the ride. And here's the great thing. They haven't sold anything. They haven't pushed any products. All that they've done is create a space, create a community, and pass tremendous value. They've given for free, tremendous value. And the response has been purchases. They didn't go in, they don't have a store there where you can buy the shoes, and it's not hard sell. It's value exchange. So this is what I often upsets me. I go to my hairdresser and I buy something, or I go to a favorite store and I buy something, and I pay the money and I get the product. That is a 0-0 exchange. I've given you money, you've given me a product. What do you give me for my loyalty? What do you give me for the fact that I tell my friends about this or Instagram it? Nothing. Most brands do nothing. Now, because there's big data and people are trying to market to their customers, a lot of loyalty cards have come out because they want to understand your purchasing behavior. And so the exchange is, okay, give me your purchasing behavior and I'll give you some freebies. Maybe I'll give you 10% off here and there. But where's the value exchange? Where are you giving me how are you creating opportunities for me to love you? And opportunities that you make me look cool so that I can make you look cool, so that all my followers will support you because they support me. And I think that's what you have to understand. Influencers' followers are extremely loyal, and they support them. And nobody believes you anymore. They only believe your influencers. But you can't just go to an influencer like Cassandra and say, here's some product, talk about it. You have to collaborate. It has to be a collaboration because they understand the customer. They understand their following. They understand what's going to work. And it has to feel authentic because there's nothing worse than being on somebody's Instagram feed and you know that this is an ad. Immediately, I as the follower lose trust. So how are you going to collaborate with your influencers so that they can create amazing content that is authentic and believable and creates a value exchange? So one of the best examples I like, again, is Nike. They went to Casey Neistat and they gave him, let's say, $100,000 to make an ad for them. So they obviously collaborated. Nike was like, here's $100,000. What do you want to do? He's like, okay, look, I can't exactly just say Nike paid me $100,000 to make an ad, or here's my ad for Nike, or here I am wearing Nike shoes. So he came up with this idea where he's like, okay, let's pretend I stole the money and me and my friend blew it traveling the world. So the ad, if you go to Casey Neistat's YouTube channel is, or the video, is Nike gave me $100,000 to make a video for them. Me and my friends took the money, we blew it traveling the world to see how long it would last. It lasted 18 days, here's the video. So now I'm watching Casey Neistat with all his epic filmography, he is amazing. Traveling the world with his best buddy, having friends, laughing ha 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 about how they stole the money from Nike. Nike goes along the whole way with this amazing, epic, believable, credible, authentic, amazing advert. So that's the kind of value exchange you need to have with your collaborators. Absolutely, authenticity must be at the heartbeat of what you're doing with them. So they went to Soweto and they built a soccer training facility for free. And they run it every single day of the month. It's populated by Nike paid employees, coaches, people who are teaching the kids soccer. They run national talent hunt competitions around South Africa where they look for skilled up-and-coming footballers. And last year, I believe 17 of those people, young people, were picked to play picked to play locally, and 4 of them were picked for international clubs. So at these workshops that they run, they get proper professional footballers in, like Mark Fish, to talk them through signing contracts, signing deals, getting like how to deal with sponsorships, things I wish I had known as a young footballer. So now, like, what the heck? This is the most mind-blowing thing, and I had no idea because I'm not part of the community. It wasn't for me. They haven't done press releases about this because they don't want everyone to know. Because why? Because why? The people who need to know. So what they'll do is they'll put out the word that they're having a soccer clinic, and this one will tell this one, will tell this one, will tell this one, will tell this one, and everybody who is a youth who plays soccer turns up. And they've absolutely just gifted this to the people of Soweto in that community just because. And so as a result, their brand has been rated as one of the coolest in South Africa. Because the people who need to know and the people who are plugged in, Nike is there. And you and I had no idea because we are not the target demographic. So they've got these young people that are growing up with such a value, so invested in the Nike brand that no other brand can actually come in and take away that space. So let's quickly go through how are you going to turn your customers into stark raving fans. Community, content, and collaboration. So let's talk about community. What can you do? You could start a club. You could start a Facebook group for your micro segments. You could have a free membership where you give away information, proprietary information, snippets of proprietary information. You could have events. They could either be really accessible events or they could be blue chip events. They could be big, they could be small. But what we're learning is that smaller is better. People feel more heard, and you can target the right people to be at the event and the right influencers to be at that event. Find your influencers and then find your brand advocates. So find your customers who love your brand. Do you know who they are? Because I've been on some of our clients' Facebook pages, and there's that one person that's just always writing back. It's always just writing back. They're so invested in the brand. Like, let them be an advocate. make a poster of them, put it up in your branches, say this is whoever, and this is what she loves to do. Give her some space. Set her up as an influencer. So one of the brands I was speaking to is in the cosmetics field, and the goal is for us to find the brand advocates and actually turn them into micro influencers. Give them the tools. Bring them on workshops to learn how to use a camera and how to use sound. Like actually create a small event for your brand advocates to give them this value. Okay, we want to set you up. We're going to give you a podcast, and you're going to be the DJ of this podcast. And you can identify the people that you're going to interview, and we'll do the sound for you, and we'll support you, but help to set your advocates up. And the whole key thing here is to have a free mindset. So when you start thinking of wanting to pay people to charge for these events, that's old school marketing. That's hacking the tree. Watering the tree, it's a free economy. And if you want to target the younger markets, the millennials, the tech natives, and even the Generation X's and older, the trust is not there. And the only way to create trust is to create a sense of community and around a no hidden agenda. Because the minute people sense a hidden agenda, that's when they run for the hills. And a real key part of this is to stop selling. So I believe that the new marketing economy, you stop selling. Now don't get me wrong. If you go on the Nike website and you go on the running club, there's product all over that website. But it's cohesive. It's very cohesive with the value exchange that they're giving. So here's a running club. Here are the top new brands that are out. Here's some video content. So once you stop selling and you move into the value exchange, sales just happen organically. But before you can reach this, you do need to have the basics in place. You do need to have a website, and it must be decent. If you're in the product space, an e-commerce store should be a good user experience. It doesn't matter that people know or don't know your brand. You don't need to be a Nike to practice like this. You can be a Shift One. You can be a Evo Labs. You don't have to necessarily have already arrived. But what you do need is to have the basics in place. Remember the pyramid that I spoke about? Maslow's hierarchy, Kolstadt's hierarchy of social media. You kind of need to have those basics in place before you hit the pinnacle. Because you can't be worried about food and safety and self-actualization when you're hungry and unsafe, right? It's the same with this hierarchy of social media. So get the basics in place. Get your content marketing going. Get your social media going. Be doing all those things. Be ticking all those boxes. And then let's start focusing on the top end of that. You need your promoted content, because nothing you put on Facebook is going to show if you don't promote it. So you're creating all this content, you're doing this value exchange, you've got this event happening, and you need your digital advertising to pull all of this through seamlessly. But it stops being an advertising message and it becomes a value exchange message. Your content has to be there. So your content, basically it's your connectivity with your customer. And your content must be customized to their needs, personalized to them, relevant at the right time, the right length, the right channels, integrated. As Ellen said, mobile first, because people are picking up their mobile phones first. So just because you have a website that's mobile responsive doesn't mean that it's mobile first. It may look still a bit rubbish, even though it's responsive. It needs to be crafted for mobile. And every single touch point needs to be mobile friendly. I was at a very large South African brand recently, and their emails are not mobile responsive, which for me is a fail. You know, people are checking their phones constantly for emails, especially in the business to business space. And this strategy works for business to business. This isn't just business to consumer at all. No matter who your customer is, whether they are a business or you're a service provider, this absolutely works. And video first. I can send you within the space of 1 minute about 70 to 80 statistics around why email is better, why video is better than any other form of content. Video, 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 video. I can send you 80 win stats telling you why video for everything. Now, it doesn't mean you can stop writing, because in our user testing, we found somebody who said she doesn't want to watch a video because she doesn't want to have to watch so long to see the point. She wants to be able to scan the article so she can see if she wants to watch the video. So have both, but definitely have video. And for me, content should form relationships. It needs to be emotive. It absolutely needs to be emotive. So have you spent any time looking at neuromarketing? Maybe the next workshop we do, we can focus on neuromarketing. The neuromarketing segments. If you mail me, I will mail it to you. The limbic regions and how you target customers based on where their profiling is, using the right messaging and the right content. And emotiveness is absolutely key because it's about helping them and loving them. Because emotion makes people buy, but logic makes people think. Now you're sitting here thinking, oh, she's only talking about emotion because she's a female. I'm male. I'm all logic. Except who writes all the sad love songs? It's men. Men are more emotional than females, but don't tell anybody. So emotions are here from the limbic region, which is your subconscious, and this is where decisions are made from. This is your prefrontal cortex. This is where words come from. Decisions are not made in the wordy space. They're made in the emotional space. So people need to feel an emotional connection to your brand in order to buy. If they do not feel an emotional connection, they will not buy. And it's very simple. It's just about using the right picture that appeals to me. So the wrong picture is not going to appeal to me. It's as simple as that. So if I am somebody who sees myself as being adventurous and I'm very sporty and I like to climb mountains, then show me pictures of people climbing mountains and use the words, because I'm a high risk profile person. But if I'm somebody who's really just about warm, friendly people and just the people that I know, and I just want to hang out at home with, the people that I love, then use pictures that appeal to me. And if you don't know what those pictures are, you can go based on age and gender, or you can just make some informed decisions. If you're selling a retirement fund, you don't want to use pictures that imply risk. You want to use pictures and wording that implies leave a legacy, keep your family safe and secure. And then collaborate. It's really just about finding the influences, finding the voices within the community. So if you have done some work in understanding who your communities are, actually go into those communities and be there and find the voices, because that is really the only way to go. So let's look at our marketing manager now that she's come to this talk. She's now feeling focused because he or she now has some tools to know what to focus on. Instead of feeling analysis paralysis, she knows to focus on analyzing the value exchange. So let's measure the right things. Let's not just look at numbers. I don't just want to look at clicks and likes, because very importantly, this marketing manager knows that behind every click is a person. Behind every like is a person. Behind every comment and share is a person, a real person. And it's about forming that one-to-one relationship with them. She feels differentiated because nobody in her industry is building relationships like she is. And they don't even know that she's doing this, her competitors, because they're not within the demographic and they haven't been invited to any of these events. And so they don't know that this is this value exchange community that she's setting up and that it's working better than any of her other digital strategies. She has more time now because she can focus on smaller groups and ignore people who are not going to waste her time, or that are not within these small communities that she's targeted. And she's realized that instead of this deluge and overwhelming people with content and with data, she can focus on less is more. But the content has more value because it's actually not coming from her, it's coming from her influencers. And maybe she goes and she sends a video crew and they film some people engaging with the brand. And they make a cool, sexy little video that the influencer can post. And there's a nice value exchange there. And that's what she's focused on. And that is how you reach a distracted customer in a digital age. Thank you very much. So let's open the floor to some questions.
So I really love this presentation and how as brands we should move away from hard selling to building brand revenue. But what's your advice to people who work in big corporates or organizations where it's really hard to shift that mindset from top level to say, guys, we should stop moving, we should move away from hard selling to building relationships and doing all these things?
You're absolutely right. The Nike, the decision came from the top. So I would say do both and test. And at the end of the day, once data speaks much stronger than opinions, and you can go back with a year's worth of data and say, we carved out a test budget of, let's say, 10% of the budget to test on the community's collaborations and content. And we carved that budget out, and these are the results. So you need to associate certain products with those, with your event, so you can track the sales. Because it is actually, at the end of the day, about sales. But it's a different way of going about sales. It's not going with the hammer, it's going with the feather. So I would do a test campaign, and I think you're absolutely right. It has to come from the top. But data will convince them in the end. Yeah, and it's about learning. You're going to do it, and you're going to probably suck at it, and the first couple of events may be cringy, and you're going to learn and collaborate with the wrong people, and everything rises and falls in execution, and execution's the tough part. So it's just about constantly being in the space and learning and finding out.
There's obviously been a rise of influencers, whether verified or not, because everyone has seen the currency that it has and how they can benefit. But do you think that locally the influencers are bankable, and our South African consumers, the consumer that is influenced, where as you see Rihanna today, she puts on a pair of Pumas and they sell out tomorrow. But you have a case of, let's say, Renang, she's a face of Revlon, and Woolworths and all these other brands. It's also the thin line between sincerity and being authentic. And I think the South African consumer is a bit more smarter and not as influenced as the global community.
Yeah,
Is it
I
because
agree.
of the quality of the influencers or just the psyche of the
I
consumer?
think South Africans don't support South Africans. So if I saw Charlize Theron, I'd be like, oh, there's Charlize, don't look, she's going to get a big head. She's not even South African. She doesn't even have a South African accent. We don't have that like, oh my gosh, there's Charlize, what the heck, mentality, so it's coming. I do think that it'll probably grow, but we are a very sort of skeptical, of our stars. We're not really, but it is getting bigger. But it's hard work for those influencers to get that 10,000 subscribers on YouTube. That's a big number. They've invested a lot of time, and it is hard work for them to get it. But their followers are very loyal. So influencer strategies, I suggest you don't start with looking for the influencers. I suggest you start looking for the followers. You find who the followers are. Look at who the customers are following. And those are your influencers, because a lot of fake influencers, people buying likes. So yeah, just go and find who the people are following, and then that will lead you to the influencers. What else? Has this been helpful? Have you learned something? Did you meet some other interesting people? Not yet.
Just now we can interview.
Yes, sir.
Sorry, I'm not into marketing, so I don't know much about marketing, but I must say this presentation was really awesome.
Thank you.
And Sandeep is my marketing manager. I'm so proud of him. It was great. I'd like to know if I could just spend 1 minute to offer something to the audience, if you don't mind.
Oh, cheeky, cheeky.
I know nothing about marketing.
Okay, you can. Has everybody asked their questions? We are available afterwards. We're going to eat a snack. Don't run away, because I'd love you to meet. Your goal is to meet at least 2 or 3 other marketing managers. Go and look on the list and see who you want to chat to, and then go and find each other, because I think as marketers, we need support. Let's stop fighting each other and let's start working together and finding ways. There's so many customers. We really don't need to be competing like that. So did you all get your goodie bags? Thanks to Liesel from Montague. Thank you, Liesel. There's a goodie bag for everybody there, so make sure that you've got it. And what else? Is that all? Okay, Mr. Brights, would you like to steal the floor?
Thank you for the opportunity. I saw so many females here, and we're trying to target females in hardware. So I thought it was a golden opportunity to invite you to our stores. This is our 47th birthday on the 22nd and 23rd of June. And Father's Day is coming up, so I'm sure you need an item for your brother or father or some male companion that you have. So I'd like to offer you an extra 10% discount on a purchase that you'd like to make, seeing that it's our birthday. We want to give something back to you, as well as to invite you to come and see what Bright's Hardware Store is all about. We, at the moment, only have 20% of our consumers being female. We'd like to grow it to 33% and see how we can add value to females in hardware. So, by all means, I've got a business card with an additional 10% for you on a purchase. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Cool, guys. Sol, do you want to close?
Right, so thank you very much for everyone attending. As Dylan said, please don't forget your goodie bag if you haven't taken one. I'd also kindly request you, just so that we can double check all the attendees, your name tags, maybe just drop it. There's a glass bowl there. Some of you have put your business cards in there already. If you didn't put your business card, at least put your name tag in there so that we can double check that against our list so that we know who did attend. And if anyone is interested in the business cards of Ellen and Dylan, I've got them here. I'll actually leave them back out front so that you can just pick them up on your way out. And like I said, the snacks will be served now. So thank you very much for everyone attending, and safe journey home.
So I can be your channel for all the